All right, welcome to School Board Saturdays. This is videocast number 3. And this is all about assessment, understanding assessment, and maybe the kind of critical failure of assessment in terms of how it operates in the Menominee School District. Fundamentally, assessment is supposed to help us understand what's happening in terms of how our students are realizing our core values and core objectives. And this is extremely important that there's alignment between what we're assessing and how we're assessing our children in relationship to those core values. And what I'm here to tell you is that our method of assessment is not telling the truth about education in Menominee. It's not. In 2005, we set out a mission for how we were going to create core values that really helped our students understand what we were about and why public education matters. It's beautiful. It's about being courageous, responsible, accountable. It's about protecting each other, appreciating each other, reliability, consistency, trust, celebration. It's about creating leadership, global perspectives, critical thinking, imaginative thinking. But our method of assessment doesn't help us understand any of these things. And our core values have been displaced in terms of realizing individual student success in terms of standardized tests. And that's wrong. And when our school board tells us our schools are getting better in ways that matter, that's a lie. They're not being honest about what our goals are and how we measure those goals. We need to be accountable. And when we think about what's happened in terms of assessment, it displaces how our students see themselves in relationship to these noble virtues of education. And that's not just being high-minded about education. It gets displaced. They don't see themselves together. They see themselves as individual competitors on an achievement, on a standardized test that measures them against none of these things that we value. None of them. Creativity is gone. Understanding each other as a community that works together is displaced. And this, I think, ties back to the school board and to some fundamental decisions that a school board has made in the past that they have not assessed. So assessment's important, not just for understanding how our students engage in the process of education, but also for understanding how our policies work. And our school board has not been effective in terms of assessing the way in which that their policies affect our students. They haven't been honest, and they haven't been truthful. The big shift happened in Wisconsin education in 2011. 2011, Walker hands down an $834 million cut to education. Every day since then has been trying to recover from that evisceration of funding. Public education has changed since that day, and we've all had to make do with less. And our politicians want to tell you that our learning has gotten better because of that. I'm here to tell you that that's a lie. They're not being honest. What happened in Menominee as a result of that was that our school board in September the 10th, 2011, the school board made a fundamental policy change. It affected how our students learn. We went from requiring 26 credits to 25 credits for high school education. We lost our fine arts requirement in high school. We moved in different course methodologies, financial literacy. We also moved in economics. Well, they're noble, but they take up space when we've got less credits to work with. Why do we have less credits? Because we've got less money. Now, our school board was not honest to us in terms of how we reacted to that cut. They've used assessment to illustrate that things have gotten better in Menominee. Well, they haven't. Not according to the goals and values that we have as a community that we've been working on for the better part of a decade and a half. That's not being honest about education. And that's not being honest about how learning works in our classroom. So standardized tests are here to stay. But we need to augment that with the type of assessment that helps us understand if our kids are coming out of school valuing education as lifelong learners, as creative agents in terms of how they interact with the world. Learning matters, and we need to find out a way that we can assess that kind of more qualitative approach to how students learn, to better understand about what their values are coming out of education. So, assessment is critical, and it's not just in terms of how we understand what our students are doing, but our school board needs to be honest with you in terms of understanding how they assess policy change. The high school has been most affected by this. And Mr. Munoz has done a masterful job working to try and do what we used to do with more credits and more credit hours in a day. We went with the budget cut from 8 credit hours to 7 credit hours. We went from 26 credits for graduation to 25 credits for graduation. And our comprehensive approach to education suffers because of that. So we need to be real about that. And we need to understand that it's not just students that have to be assessed. The school board has to be assessed. The school board has to be accountable. And the school board has to be honest with you about how learning works and what happens in our classroom and why. So assessment is a big deal. And I hope you'll think about that as you think about how we want to structure our school board debates going forward. So we can be honest with our children and ourselves about what we're doing and why.